You're listening to Australia's #1 ski racing podcast, On the Road, sponsored by Coldie's Tow Bars and Bull Bars, featuring Chelsea Stevens, Jack Coldrake, Mick Kelly, Dave Bishop, Tim Horbury and Wade Bennett. My name's Mick Lumpton, now let's head to the 10.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
Welcome along to On the Road podcast number 7. My name's Mick Lumpton, otherwise known as Lumpy, and we have a brand new sponsor. We've got great news. We've got a brand new sponsor on board, ARS Automation Robotic Services, and we'd like to thank them for joining us and being able to help us bring you the On the Road podcast, and as well as our usual sponsors, Savage Force Merchandise, and of course, Coldie's Tow Bars and Bull Bars. It is competition time once again, thanks to our great sponsors in Mark from Savage Force Merchandise, giving away a limited edition, that's right, limited edition, On the Road podcast t-shirt, and all you have to do is listen to Jack Coldrake's question at the end. Answer that via Facebook, and don't forget to like and share our Facebook page as well. Last time around, we had Chelsea interviewing Damien Matthews. I really hope you enjoyed that. It was a great chat, and thanks so much, Chelsea, for doing a fantastic job. Now, this time around, we have Bisho talking to Brett Dominquez. He's one of the most fascinating stories in water ski racing. It includes the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, but Brett's passion and enthusiasm for the sport is as strong as the day he started. I hope you enjoy. Well, the On the Road podcast and another episode, and I have got with me a guy, and I probably pick my marks a little bit with the people that I've spoken to so far. Another guy that's been around a very, very long time, even though he's not that old, but he's done it all and had a crack at everything, and he's one of the guys that I certainly look up to in water ski racing. Bretty Dominquez, welcome.
Thanks, Bisho.
Mate, it's great to be here, and thank you for inviting me down to the wonderful Dominquez Thundernuts Racing TN500 factory this evening.
Thank you.
On a cold, Thursday Melbourne night. Mate, I thought we'd just kick off. Let's start with Brett Dominquez. As a kid, I mean, you know, and we start these, I tend to start these off that way all the time because, you know, you're a skier, and I'm sure Echuca's going to come into it and a lot of other places, but how did you get into the whole water skiing scene?
So, about 1983, I think we moved to Echuca. Yep. Mum and Dad divorced. Before that, we were in Melbourne, grew up in pubs. First home was a pub. Every home was a pub after that. Every home's been a pub since. So,
they haven't been too bad to you, though, have they?
No, they haven't been bad at all. And, so Mum and Dad got divorced in about 1983. Mum decided to pack up and move to Echuca, which is closest to Barham, where she was originally from.
Yep.
So, went up to Echuca, and from there, Dad just sort of got into a bit of skiing. He skied a little bit when he was a bit younger with mates and whatnot. We skied a little bit around Eildon.
Okay.
First learnt to ski in Eildon between Dad's legs, actually.
Oh,
Pair of doubles between his doubles and smashing his ankles. And learnt to ski there, and then Dad just thought, we're up in Echuca, up near the river. It'd be a good idea to, for him to come up and see us every weekend or every second weekend and come connect with us up on the river.
That's fantastic. So, Dad taught you to ski?
Essentially, he taught me to ski, yeah.
How cool is that? Yeah, and that's what we say about ski racing, isn't it? I mean, it's the family. It's the only sport where you see Mum observing Dad driving and the kids out the back skiing, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So moving on from there, obviously, so you're skiing up at Echuca. Dad's coming up every weekend, yeah. He buys a boat.
So he buys a boat. He buys a Flightcraft Liberator with a with a 450 a jet Flightcraft Liberator jet.
That is very 1985,
with
isn't
a 454 it's 1980. Yeah, 1984 Bachelor Boat of the Year, actually. It was Bachelor Boat of the Year to the fact that it was called Foreplay and it was actually featured in Playboy.
Hey, well, I guess Dad was a single man at the time, was he?
Well, Dad was very single, actually. so we had this boat called Foreplay that we used to hang out in the Murray and just sit on the sandbank all day, and he'd drink cans, and we'd get him to take us for a ski every now and again.
And Dad enjoyed a ski as well, obviously.
Yeah, he likes skiing. He did. He got used to pull on the budgie smugglers and get out there and have a burn around. Yeah, he didn't. It all got taken up with us over the years. Like I say, he'd only get out. If we were skiing every day, he'd get out once a week, but. You get out there and have a ski. Yeah, absolutely loved it.
That's awesome. So, and obviously, I'm going to assume maybe Southern 80 might have been the first ski race you've had a look at because you're in Echuca, or no?
Well, we're up in Echuca, and then one weekend we go to actually. This is pretty naive. We went to go skiing. Went to go skiing, and there's all these ski race boats leading up to February, all that running up and down the river, and going, oh, that looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
We've actually gone to go for a ski one weekend, and the river's closed. What the hell's all this about? So we ended up going down the east for that and sort of actually missed the race.
So you've avoided the Southern 80, first Southern 80 weekend?
Yeah, first Southern 80 weekend, so we've sort of missed it effectively. We missed out on the best party of all time. And it sort of then figured out exactly what all that was all about, and we got, oh shit, we've got to get a part of this. So yeah, the year after, all of a sudden we've decided that's it, we're going to be, we're a team. It was Dad, my Uncle Timmy,
yes,
and me and Scott. So yeah, we're lined up to do our first Southern 80, and it's all pretty exciting.
So we're in the Liberator now, or have
we still had the flycraft at that stage. We still had foreplay.
Yep.
So we got to the week before the Southern 80, and Dad's rung up on the old landline and goes, God, got really bad news. I don't think we're going to be racing. Someone's just stolen the boat.
Oh, what? Really?
So it's just disappeared, poof, out of the streets of Brighton or wherever it was he was living. So it's been knocked off and gone, what are we going to do? So anyway, Dad was never one to give up on anything.
No, we know that for sure.
So in the week, I think it was the week or the week and a half leading up to the 80, goes out and finds a gill flight with another 454 rear mount.
Yep.
Aptly named Thundernuts.
Now I want to touch on that. I was going to ask you about the gill flight because I knew that the gill flight was the first boat. I know where this is going. Well, your dad tells a beautiful story, and it may remain in the abyss as a myth, or we could have it confirmed or denied, but tell me the story that your dad tells about the naming of that boat.
Oh, he sort of got put on the spot one time at the Southern 80 and got a camera jammed down his throat and said, hey, where'd you come up with the name? And he comes up with that story about a little kid come up to me and go, well, why do you call the boat Thundernuts? To look back on it, it was probably the most cringeworthy thing I've seen when I first saw it. And now when I see it, it's just absolutely, it's hilarious.
Mate, it's legendary. It's gone down in folklore.
Well, yeah, I'm not here to
dispel?
No, I'm not here to dispel the myth. But
Well, mate, the mere fact that you use the term myth, maybe, but who knows? But you know what? It's a ripping story, and we'll just run with it, I reckon.
The cracking yarn, but like I said, it's probably the most cringe-worthy thing the first time I've seen that. Oh, man, what are you doing?
It is a ripper. So for anyone that's listening, jump on a Southern 80 video. I reckon it's about 2000-ish, maybe, something like that. Yeah. And he tells the story. He tells it so well, too, because Michael was a people person, wasn't he?
I think he believed it at that stage.
Yeah, he did believe it. So that's all that matters, mate. That's all that matters. So,
yeah, but that awesome gill flight, which, has been such a wonderful part of our lives.
Yeah.
I attempted to recreate it in the Malibu that I've got now.
Yep.
Malibu Response. So I had the whole thing red metal flake.
Yes.
With the silver highlights and everything.
Because it was a rear mount too, wasn't it, Bretsky?
Yeah.
Which is very rare. It was gill flight laser, wasn't it?
Gill flight laser, yeah.
Yeah, red and silver.
Yep.
Yeah, it's actually, for those that don't know, in Brett's race factory here, we've got photos on the floor of all the old boats, which is very cool, and it also helps for my memory. So, but very cool boat. So you're trying to recreate that with the.
So I try to recreate that. So yeah, every time I think I'm the only one who really gets it. But every time I see my old Malibu Response, it's it just reminds me of the old gill flight.
Well, you like the old stuff, and you like the retro, and you are. I think you're probably a bit like me in terms of loving the history of the sport and the history of how things went down, and I guess that's just part of how you're made up.
Yeah, I like to look back on those times, and yeah, I don't want to ever let them go too much. So
yeah, 100%. No, that's cool. What if you found the old gill flight? Would you? Would that be?
I do. I have been offered it 3 or 4 times actually, and probably most recently, I think it's over in Yarrawonga, and it was offered for sale, and I think it had a bit of a Brett Dominquez price tag on it.
Yeah, you can't be silly about those things.
At the time, I think she might have been a little bit high.
Bit of GST for historical value.
Yeah, so we might just wait for that one. I've got no doubt one day. Well, hopefully the owner's not listening. I've got no doubt one day it'll end up back in the shed somewhere.
Mate, I hope it does. If it does, we'll do a little story on that. I reckon that'd be very cool.
I think at the time it was actually still in too good a nick to be part of what I wanted to do with it. So. Yeah, I think it's probably got a couple of lifetimes to go and a couple of more ski seasons with families, and then it'll end up back with me. Cool.
Well, that's what I like to hear. I like the history. The number 500. I mean, 500 synonymous with Thundernuts.
Yep.
Where'd it come from? I think it was 500 cubic inch or something like that.
No, 500. It was back in the day. We had Island Cooler with 444.
Yep.
To Ted Hurley with 454.
Yep.
And Dad really just wanted to one up.
So it was to get one over Hurley and Rowbottom, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's who were racing at the time, and that's
Yeah.
So we had to come up. We had to be a number, and so Dad really just went with 500 just to be top of the tree.
So that was later on, obviously, once you went to the Everinghams and.
Once we started doing the 500 came from lake racing. So once we started hitting the lakes and doing all that, actually it was probably before Island Cooler. It was back more the Ted Hurley days.
Yep.
Yeah, so Ted, I think it was Ted, 454, and I think Minimum Fuss might have had a higher number too. But yeah, Dad just goes, I've got to go a high number because that's what's cool.
Yeah.
And Ted Hurley was cool.
Well, Ted Hurley was very cool. Recovery, Rolco. What brings me to probably my next question, which was the Lake Cooper days. Now, I started racing at Lake Cooper, but you probably started late. Well, actually, I started maybe a year after Cooper had started. In the 93-94 season I began, and I think it kicked off about 92, 93, or maybe 91.
91, I reckon, Lake Cooper. Or Lake Lindsay, as I'd probably like to refer to it.
Lindsay beer, for those. Lindsay will probably listen to this, so...
Oh, I hope he does, because, mate, he was a... fantastic, he just did so much work to get that whole operation up and running, and it was probably the best operation we'll ever see in ski racing.
It's a real shame, isn't it? I mean, that's all that fantastic, for those people that don't know, fantastic infrastructure, boat ramp, clubhouse, swimming pool, caravan park, race tower.
All the mums doing the dimmies and the chips and the bloody, the bar there, we had a full-blown race tower run by Fran.
Yep.
Ronnie's little caravan beside it.
Yes. Ron, of course, the commentator.
Ron and Maureen beside it. It was. Still look back on that, and that was just the golden days.
So that is for you still the.
Oh, massive highlight. But before that, it was the travelling circus. Before that.
Yeah.
I think probably the best base was Lake Epilogue.
Yes.
Running out of the boat club down there at Lake Epilogue and whatnot. Yep. That was great racing. But between VWSA and VSTC, you'd end up at Burren Beat, you'd end up at Glen Maggie, you'd end up all these great joints. Every weekend would be something different. So you never really had a lake where you knew it backwards. You knew all the problems coming out of the top corner.
Yeah.
You never actually learned to track. You just rock up and it'd just be different every day.
Yeah, and different weather conditions from the last time you were there as well.
100%. So you just never get to learn it. Whereas Lake Cooper, we actually started to get to learn it and
understood it.
Understood it, and we did that many laps around there. Then you had to figure out something.
Well, it's a pretty wild place to race, especially on a wild day.
She blew a southerly or northerly. It was off the charts.
Yeah.
If it blew down to the Lake Cooper shop down there, you're heading. You'd start off doing 100 mile an hour, and you'd end up at the bottom corner doing 40.
Yeah. The Corrupt Shop.
Sausage rolls.
Yeah, that's it. Named after the noise a pelican makes, apparently. Corrupt. Yeah.
There you go.
There you go. So I'm all for about the useless information.
I drive past Lake Cooper a lot these days, and I don't see too many pelicans on there, unfortunately.
No, they're not into the dust, unfortunately.
No.
The dirt and the dust. It is a real shame, but it was, as you say, the people involved at that time amazing effort to pull that together.
Yeah, and that for me, you know, everyone's got their golden days, and up in New South Wales they've got Wiseman's and all that sort of stuff. You know, for mine that was our golden era of ski racing.
Yeah, 100%, and that's when I started, as you say. So, you know, I've rolled in and seen the Thunder Nutses and the recoveries and, you know, all those boats, the moonshots. I spoke to Lester a couple of weeks ago, and
correct.
You know, just it was going on, wasn't it? What about the Lake Cooper Rat Pack though? I like to refer to them. You know, I mean, there was yourself, your brother, probably Adam Kahn, and Lucas Brown, and the Rat Pack was going on, wasn't it?
Oh, we had so many good times back then. Lukey Brown, Lockie Weimer driving us home, bloody back to Assumption. Yeah, because we're at Assumption those days.
Yeah.
So we'd finish racing, and obviously someone would have a drink or whatnot, and we'd have to.
You didn't, because you're underage.
I was underage.
I was
only back in year 10, year 11 then.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Completely different story. So yeah, someone we'd have to just hitch a ride with whoever was going back down to Melbourne.
Yeah.
So yeah, but like Lake Cooper, back to Lake Cooper. It's historic. Its geographical location really what made it what it was, I believe.
Yeah.
You know, it was half an hour from Echuca, it was half an hour from Shepparton, where all those awesome ski racing families out of Shepparton came from.
Yep.
And, an hour and a half from Melbourne. So geographically, it was just perfect.
It was, wasn't it? Yeah, I mean, you're right. Like, it was so easy. I mean, we race at Lake Charm now, and you and I are diehards, and we'll drive our 3.5 hours, but it becomes a big drive, doesn't it?
Yeah, nothing against Lake Charm. I think if Lake Charm was anywhere else geographically, it'd be incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love Lake Charm, and I love the ski club up there, and they do such a good job.
Yeah.
But geographically, we're not dragging any extra members or any extra people like the Lake Cooper days. The people who come, friends and families and everything, would come from Shepparton and Echuca, and all of a sudden they'd see ski racing and they'd get into it.
I've done well to stick to the format so far with the questions, but I'm going to go off on a tangent because you've made me want to ask you about some stuff that we did, and this is later on in my question list, but we'll do it now because we're talking about it. And I've got to commend you as well, because you're one of the few superclass guys that has got on the board and worked on a board, and you and I worked on the board for quite a few years, along with Graham French, Richard Partington, and we did take the show on the road for those few years. And I'm with you, I really enjoyed that whole, we went to Lake Bullamirai, we went to Paynesville, Meetung, and Lake Maggie we got blown out at once. But I really enjoyed that, and I think you did too.
I was a big supporter of us taking it back to other areas and taking it back to other places. Like I said, nothing against Lake Charm. Lake Charm is probably one of the best locations in Australia. It's got the facilities, it's a great lake.
Yeah.
It rarely gets blown out. But it's really not taking it to the people, and it's not taking the show on the road. You need the travelling circus at the end of the day to take the sport to the people. So in that time that we were on the board, we had some great stuff going on. We were down in Paynesville, down in Meetung.
Yeah.
Trying to get out of those places, and we also delved a lot into Geelong.
Yeah, we did. We raced there a few times, eh?
Which is what it's all about. It's getting it to the people. I'd get people coming to the pub, the week after we'd been down to Geelong, and they go, "Man, we're driving past, look out Cryo Bay, and there's people skiing out there. There's a race on." I go, "Yeah, we had a world selection down there, or we had, the Knowles bloody the Australian series down there."
Yep.
All these great things were really happening at the time, and here we are again, regressing into no real future apart from the real safety zones, and obviously that's got a lot to do with money to go out and explore new places, and it's got a lot to do with bureaucrats and
absolutely, getting permits to go somewhere different is the biggest. As you know, mate, you've been involved. And the other problem, I think, too, is just logistically getting people to cart your stuff around as well. We were really lucky in the time we were in, because we did have a bunch of good... I remember leaning on my nephew, Matty White, all the time. "Mate, you got to tow a rescue boat to the races," and he'd just do it because I was his uncle and I made him, But, finding people to do that stuff's hard, eh?
But when went down we did a reconnaissance down to Lake Bullamirai. We're down Camperdown. It
was a big day.
And I've got there and I've thought, we need to be here twice a year. This location, little country town in the middle of nowhere, back to not exactly what I'm saying about taking it to the people,
But it did take you to the Western District, which is a place that we didn't really go, wasn't it?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. And, we have a Ballarat crew. We've got all those sort of crew too that, get neglected a fair bit. They have to do all the travelling as well.
Yeah. Sorry for the Sydney people listening. They've got no idea what we're talking about.
Oh, sorry.
We don't care, though.
But they get it. They don't have the travelling circus as well. There's not that Wangler Dam or Cowra or that, going to Yass and, all those awesome places. And, the struggles to get onto Botany Bay and things like that, Whereas, we spent a lot of time up in Sydney in our early years.
Yeah.
Back in the 90s, we're up and down the Hume Highway nearly every second weekend.
Yeah, well, I remember that, and I suppose we'll move on through to that. You obviously felt like, and as I said, I spoke to Lester a week or so ago, and he felt like the big show was in Sydney in those days, in terms of a lot of the good skiers and teams and boats were from up there. Was that a similar thing for you guys?
100%, that's where all the racing was. Our racing down here was really, it still was for ages. It was just four lap sprints.
Yep.
It really wasn't. You really weren't testing yourself as such. You really wanted to be on the big stage. And back then, they made the rule that you had to do so many races at Region 5 if you wanted to go ski over in America.
Yes, that's right. Well, yeah, Region 5 was the Region 5 of the USA, wasn't it?
Yeah, so you had to actually qualify through Region 5 if you wanted to go to the States. Yeah. So that was half the lure as well.
Yeah.
But through that, we ended up going up there and testing ourselves at the... I actually, when I was still at Assumption, I'd get picked up in a truck by some random truckie, drive through Kilmore, pick me up and take me to Peter Ross's house up in Sydney, and I'd ski behind Desage.
Really? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Now, was that the Connolly, or was that...
No, that was the Bullet.
Prior to the Connolly.
In Mock, yeah.
Yeah, because then he went the Connolly, which was Network, San Joe's boat, and then he built that, remember that Connolly with all the steps?
The one with the no-nose, yeah. That never really made it to the water. I think that nearly made it to the water recently. But yeah, I used to go, so I'd just get in the truck, and I'd travel in a truck for bloody 10 hours, some truckie smoking darts the whole way. Get dropped off at Pete's bloody chip shop, chip factory.
Yeah.
Hang out with him. Yeah,
How old are you at this stage?
16.
Yeah. Well, that's a life experience for you.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden back on the train or back in another truck and back to school Monday.
And so was that organised by, like, Dad teed that up, did he? Or?
Yeah, Dad and Peter Ross.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So...
chuck the kid in the truck, get him up here.
He'll be right. How bad can it be? Oh, mate, he's only driven for 14 days from Brisbane 3 times this week. That's unreal. But then you went overseas, didn't you? In fact, for school, I think you went and lived in New Zealand for school.
No, ages well past moved over to New Zealand with Narelle actually.
Oh right, that was later. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, well later.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Before...
Did you ski over there? Did you race over there at all?
I tried. Don't want to think about it actually.
I've said there's all these topics. Can I touch on? You said it's fine, but skiing in New Zealand's not.
It's probably my biggest low light. I took my ski over there. I thought, you never know. You might want to go for a ski. Anyway, teed up with I can't remember who, and if they're listening, well, please touch base. But you probably don't want to remember. Rocked on down to wherever it was, just out of Auckland. There's a race on out there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And jumped, hooked the rope on, did mock down the first straight, and buddy forgot what mock was like. I think I might have been a superclass skier.
Wash.
A fat superclass skier at that time. No, fat ex superclass skier.
Training hadn't been high on the list.
Training wasn't high on the list in New Zealand.
No.
And
so did we get sprayed, or did we just have to wave down a bit?
No, I just put a little hold on it, and we backed out the back door. But not a high memory. Training in New Zealand on the line reg long necks and on a Sunday afternoon with a bunch of islanders playing cricket was it wasn't really good training.
But you had fun.
Had a ball.
Yeah.
Had an absolute ball.
Like, you got to say about the Kiwis too. I mean, they are so passionate, and considering they're only a nation of, what are they, 8 million or something like that?
Yeah.
Sorry to the Kiwi. So Brad Dutton will be listening to this and you go, you don't even know how many people live here, bro. We don't, to be honest, Brad. But
we'll come back and count next time.
Do it in two hands. For the amount of people that they have, to the quality of equipment, skiers and people, it's an amazing ratio.
Oh, but so, yeah, well, my original times back there, back in the 90s, were probably the second or third touring group of New Zealand. For the Tasman Challenge.
Yeah.
So, Steve, Morley was part of it, Wade Bennett and whatnot. Yeah,
Yep.
like the early touring groups, which, back in those days, it was just loose. under 16 boys, and we're just, having the time of our life.
Having a ball.
Having the time of our life.
Which Tasman Challenge was and is a big part of what you do now, even now.
Well, yeah, it's been like Tasman's been a massive part of went back to it as well, and hopefully get back there again with my kids as well if they decide to choose that path. But but back in those days with Coxie and Fran and those guys pushing the barrow, they did a fantastic job to get that whole organisation up and running. And 24 years later or whatever it is, still going. Yeah. Still going along.
Still going on. Mike Williams, of course.
Mike Williams, back in the day, yep.
The Kiwi guy that did it all from their end, and then I guess the Duttons have taken that on board and run with it really well also now. But, mate, Trans-Tasman, really good event. For those listening that don't know, it's an event for, junior skiers between New Zealand and Victoria.
Yep.
Victoria and New Zealand have about the same population, so they figure that's about right, So... But you've done quite a bit in the United States. I know your dad Mike had lots of friends in the US, and you spent a lot of time over there. What was the first, I guess, initiation over there, and what did you do? It was obviously nationals and stuff like that.
Yeah, so America was good fun for us to get over. I went to I think Dad took Scott over there first.
Yep.
When in under 13 boys. I went over and did under 13 to 15s because he thought it would be fair to take one, take the other.
Yeah.
However it was going to be.
You got to keep it even.
Yeah, and that hence that all came out of our Region 5 days and whatnot. So we went over and did the nationals over there a couple of times. Met some amazing people, but some of that racing was fantastic.
Yeah.
It was just full blown. It was everything you imagine of 1990 America, girls with big cans and big hair and
and flat bottoms with big paint jobs.
Flat bottoms with paint jobs and glossy motors and it's just everything you could possibly imagine.
Yeah. And it was big in America then too.
It was really strong.
Yeah.
So it was good fun. But then through that, we ended up there those few times. But then it turned out Scott got an opportunity to go over there and race with the team. So he got sort of hooked up with Gary Sawyer and the Sawyer family over there.
Yep.
Which is probably one of the best things that ever happened for us.
That's then turned into a long time association.
Yeah. So he ended up. What would he essentially call it? Builds it out. So so he all of a sudden he's over there. At the age of I can't remember what Scott was then, 20 something.
Yeah.
Basically living in America with a job with the Sawyer family. He's got his own truck. He's driving out to all these lakes skiing with Marty Wells and.
What's young Brett thinking by this stage? My bloody brother's living the dream.
What am I doing back in Melbourne? What am I doing? Why am I back here?
Why am I here? What have I done?
Yeah. He's just he hooked up there, and that was just great times.
And then obviously that must have flowed into Catalina's. And I'm sorry, my research isn't that good. I know you've skied Catalina. How many have you done? And
I've done
what's your success rate?
3 Catalinas, 4 Catalinas, and 0 to negative success. Actually, when I say negative success, my last 2 Catalinas was where it showed my hip was just absolute cactus.
Yeah.
So it was it really exposed how bad that was. So that led on to me actually end up getting a scrape on the hip that got me through for another 10 years.
Yep.
And then having the hip replacement at 38.
Yeah, and how is it?
Now, fantastic, yeah.
Yeah, and skiing socially?
Social ski. I've been in the race ski a few times with it.
Yep.
Yeah, no dramas.
Don't know if the people can hear, but it started pouring here in Melbourne, Pretsky. So
yeah,
all
bit of a typical Melbourne.
Mick Kelly in Queensland will be laughing at us if it's freezing and cold and raining down here, but that's okay, Mick. World Championships.
World Championships, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've always been fascinated and loved the concept of racing an hour and all that.
Yep.
You know, it's something that appealed to me, and I really looked up to all those guys that did it when I was young. And we were just 4-lap specialists down here in Melbourne.
That's
down
right.
in Victoria. Yeah. You know, that's all we did. Just went out there, blasted away at 100, tried to do 100 mile an hour for 4 laps, and
Yeah.
you know, hang it up, and then go out there and do it again, and that's all we did. Yeah, but for the guys doing those hour and laps, so yeah, it was a real attraction to me.
Yep.
So yeah, I tried my hand a couple of times.
Yep.
You know, had one failed.
What were your crews when you did that?
Yeah, so because we never had a boat for it.
Yeah. Well, you were running every hams and whatnot, and let's face it, Worlds are generally about rough water.
Yeah. So we're trying to do it with budget. We're trying to do it with all these boats.
Yep.
It wasn't working. Leicester was awesome. Leicester Fremantle picked me up for a year.
Yep.
So I managed to do a season with Leicester, which was great. Well, that actually got me into reserve for the 2003 team at Long Beach.
Okay, yeah.
So made the reserve team there, and didn't get to have a ski, but had a fantastic experience and watched the great Steve Robbo running around there with Marty Wells, and you know, just watching what they do and knowing how hard it was just, you know, that was mind blowing.
Yeah.
So so made the reserve team, and that got me motivated to at least try a little bit harder for the next one.
Yep.
You know, I thought I was doing the right things, but I never did. You know, I was only bullshitting myself.
Well, talking to Chelsea and a few of the people that have done Worlds, and Chelsea's on our podcast, the On the Road podcast, as well as one of our presenters, and she's probably going to get more into the athletic side of it. I'm probably a little bit more the boat and, you know, that side of it. But, you know, she talks a lot about, you know, I think Craig Burton training people and, you know, having a personal trainer and doing all that mind stuff and plus all the work on the water as well, which is probably stuff you didn't even know about. Yeah, no, it was a thing back then. You know, there was Michael Days and whatnot, and Scott would talk and work with these guys and do all that, get into that sort of thing. I just never had that. I just like skiing and skiing fast. Yeah. And I just never thought that, you know, I didn't want to push myself to that next level. Yeah. So I just did it with what was in front of me and whatnot. These guys, like, they were, you know, Scott started to really take it to the next level. Yeah. And he was really pushing into something else. Yeah. You know, so, yeah, he would have really had a really good go at it. You mentioned Scott, and I suppose, you know, it's part of the story, and the elephant in the room, obviously, poor Scotty hit a swan, I think it was, up on the Clarence River in October in 2000, and unfortunately passed away. How do you deal with that? You know, what goes through your mind? Do you want to stop racing? Talk us through that. So much stuff goes through your mind. You know, like I probably could have and should have just hung it up then, walked away and just said, you know, that's it. Dad was happy to do whatever we wanted to do. You know, as a team, he just said, you know, whatever you want to do. Like, he goes, I've got a boat, and I at that stage, I really didn't know what to do. Yeah. You know, the sport had just ripped the heart out of me. Well, Scott was your idol, wasn't he? He was your brother, and he was... Best you were mates. Yeah, best mate, little brother, buddy. Yeah. And he was just... And, you know, he was so dedicated to the course, he was going on to do something awesome. Yeah. You know, they just come off with the Sting, you know, setting this incredible time at Mildura. Yep. They've reset the boundaries. They did, didn't they? That Mildura race was record. Yeah, it was the equivalent of Craney's 29. Yeah. You know? Yeah. So it really set a new benchmark. So you go through all those, and I'm sure it's with you still now, but where do you end up? What happened? I was sitting back, and Scott's was at Grafton, and I think it was I think we'd only got to the Sydney Bridge. And I think Leicester, if I remember correctly, it's a bit cloudy. I think Leicester said, I've got Jason Dieball here and I've got no other skier. Why don't you just come and have a good time? I thought, no, I think I'm not unfit. I'm good to go. Yeah, why not? So
hooked on a ski and had a little ski. I'm pretty sure that was only a few months later, actually.
Well, it was October, so the bridge is in November, so it's only 2 months.
I'm pretty sure it was only that quick.
Yeah.
So I jumped on, had a little ski there, and I don't think we did that. We didn't do that great.
Yep.
But yeah, geez, there's a lot of demons running through the head. And nothing changed for the rest of my career. I had demons running through my head for the next 5 years that we actually did full-blown superclass.
Ski, so, that's a tough one. And then, of course, while we're on the subject, I mean, and it's the most tragic ski racing story I know, is that your father then had a boat crash in 2005, so only 5 years later, and unfortunately himself and Mark Lewins. Wow, what goes through your mind then?
Yeah, well, that's, that's double. We're really taking things to another level at that stage.
Yep.
I didn't so much I was still skiing with demons, still skiing with the demons in the head, but I was really on top of my game after that. At that stage, we had some of the most amazing bloody races at that stage. I was skiing with Jamie Oliver at that stage.
Yeah.
We'd come off what could have been probably the greatest Southern 80 of all time, but which ended at Warp Wheeler Drive boat ramp.
Well, I still think it is one of the greatest Southern 80s all time, because of people that have watched the video, it's the best video ever made. It's got some very rude words in it coming from Michael, though.
It's historically correct.
It's historic. So for those that don't know, it was a gearbox, I think, in the end, wasn't it? It was blown budget.
Yep.
And it blew a gearbox. The boys were on absolute beyond record time. Yep. And unfortunately, it failed. Only was it
4Ks, Warp Wheeler Drive.
Warp Wheeler Drive.
Yeah,
which you ironically own a house on.
Yeah, it was only just back to our place. We nearly float back for a beer.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was shattering. Yeah, but we'd also we'd had some incredible runs all the way through there. Robin Vale, whatnot. So we're seriously just on top of the game.
Yeah.
We'd just come off. The year before we just won Robinvale.
Yep.
So we won Robinvale, went and picked up that other boat over in America, and the Top Gun boat.
Yeah, Conley Craft.
Yeah.
Yep.
Conley, and then we're starting to build towards that and start to think about going on to bigger and better things, and actually I just started actually being able to compete decently, I thought, on some sort of level at the world races. But starting to get on top of my game, and then Dad passed away.
Yeah. So your best mate and your other best mate are gone.
Both gone. Yeah.
What do? Do you obviously sit back and go, "This sport's killing me inside"? For want of a better term.
Well, it almost feels like I'm next on the list.
Yeah.
I already felt like I was next on the list after Scott.
Yeah.
And having other mates losing other mates all the way.
Yeah.
But there was at that stage there was always me and Cam and Steve.
Yep.
We had a good crew around us. We still wanted to be mates, and I've got this sense of adventure that I would never stop. That was
we are a mad ranger. Let's be honest.
That's it. But the old man certainly put a sense of adventure into me that it's not a sort of never say die attitude.
And for people that never met Michael, I was only lucky enough to know Michael for maybe 5 or 6 years, properly, and he was just as you said before, nothing would stop him. I remember that Robinvale race that you're talking about, and I spoke to Michael that Robinvale race. His back, he couldn't even walk, he couldn't even move, and in those, I've never driven them, but in those big Everinghams with the big cav plate, I'm sure that was just hell on his back. And he actually said to me, I said, "Oh, Michael, how are you doing this?" Because I'm soft as butter, as you know. And I said, "How are you doing this?" And he said, "Well, Dave, you just got to manage the problem." That was such a Michael thing to say, but that's the guy that he was, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh, look, he just wouldn't. He just didn't know how to give up.
Yeah.
Had no idea. Just didn't understand. Had no concept of it. So
wish I was like that.
So to pass on, how do I continue racing or continue doing it? I don't know. You just build up day by day.
Yeah.
So I've got a good crew. We've got a good crew around us. We've got good mates. We still want to do something. It's what we do know what to do. So I thought, how do we make this safe, or how do we bring it back inside our limits?
Yep.
So we built that 21-foot superclass.
Yes. Formula 2 boat.
Formula 2 boat.
Yep.
Under the Formula 2 boat rules that we knew were supposed to be. We guessed them at the time.
Yep.
We guessed wrong, but
Yeah.
Formula 2 was made to cheat, I think.
Yeah, well, any outboard class, to be honest.
Any
I'm a smock boat driver.
Exactly, smuck and muck like this. Every outboard class is made to cheat. But we had a great. We put together this outboard. We go and just get back to racing. So I've dropped back to 70 odd mile an hour racing, doing legs, having an absolute ball.
Yep.
Got our crew together. We just had the best time. So that just grew. It just grew from there.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to touch on that a little bit more. I'm just going to jump backwards a little bit before we go too far down the track, because you mentioned the Cougar, Stephen Morley, a few times. He's got to be one of your best mates. I figure he's you're like peas in a pod, you two guys. The 1992 Southern 80. You're in under 19s and you're behind the big Everingham. Tell us about that.
Well, back to Steve. Steve, I met in under 13s. I met him at Lake Burren Beat one time, and he was we're both just little kids. I'm a little ranger, and he was a little blondie. He looks like his son Jack looks identical to him right now. By the way,
he does. The Cougar Cub.
And so I met him there, and then all of a sudden. So we go through a couple of ski races like that, and then Steve sort of drifts away. Stephen Cole drifts away from ski racing a little bit, and then all of a sudden he lands at Assumption College.
Oh, right.
One time.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, man, I know you.
I remember you.
Yeah. So here we are going to boarding school together.
Yeah.
And so Steve's out of ski racing at this time. We're well and truly in ski racing at this time. It's like, Steve, you use a ski race. Why don't you dust your ski off and get out there and have a crack? So he's like, oh, yeah, why not? So him and Cole and, a bunch of crews, we end up getting back into point score racing. He gets back into racing. So all of a sudden we're racing around. Steve does a season with another crew. I do a season with another crew. And it's like, man, let's just ski together.
Are you guys like maybe 16-ish?
Yeah, we're about 15 at this
15,
stage.
Yeah.
15, 16 at this stage.
Yeah.
It's like, let's go together. So, yeah. We hooked up from there. So from that we go on and we did a season with the yellow Everingham.
I love that boat.
Yeah, well, we loved it too, but
I probably loved it because of the paint job, to be honest.
Yeah, I love the paint job and saw a lot of it when we sat on the bank.
Broken.
Every race.
Really?
Every race for an entire season.
Yeah, wow.
Just sat on the bank. Just woulda, coulda. Yep. Absolutely, everything. The typical story.
Yep.
So we went through a whole season. We didn't really know where we were going with it. Like, we didn't know if we were any good. We thought we were. Yeah, we're winning all the point scores and all that sort of stuff. But
getting to the rivers and mechanical stuff's letting you.
So we never actually laid down a time to know whether we were going any good.
Yeah.
So we get to the Southern 80 and. The year before was the first time in under 16s. The youngest people would be allowed into the Baker Splits. They break the rules.
Ah, yeah.
So they let us in as under 16s.
Yep.
Next year was first year under 19 boys. We took off wherever it was. No one cared where you took off back in those days. It's not prima donnas like today. Need 3 minutes between boats. And
there was no Facebook to get on and complain about the fact that you had to pass some boats, was there?
How would anyone know if you're disgruntled?
Yeah, that's right. They didn't, so it didn't matter.
Yeah. So now you got 3 minutes between boats. But yeah, we took off wherever. Anyway, so we took off. Got to Be Crazy beat us in the Blitz.
Yeah.
And we come second in the Blitz, and we're like, what the shit?
What happened then?
Shit, this is cool.
Yeah.
We thought we were okay.
And this is the white Everingham,
The white Everingham.
Which I think was the first or the second
The
one?
first.
The first
was
one.
given it was given to Dennis Rowbottom.
Yep.
Who took it to the top of Australia and did a few point scores with it.
Yep.
And then Dennis was happy with his own setup with a 20-footer, and he gave it back to us.
Yep.
So we got the hand-me-down.
Got the hand-me-down.
Yeah, so we put that. It used to have the island cooler on it.
Yes.
It actually had the island cooler, and we put the did that fluoro paint job, thumbnails on it like a week before the Southern 80.
Yeah, it looked good though.
I loved it.
Yeah,
so
it did.
It was just epic.
Yeah.
So that went on, and but it was handling like a piece of shit.
Yeah, okay. Because those boats really sat up on their cabs, didn't they? Different to the V-bottom 20-footer that you had.
Just floated.
Yeah.
Literally floated. But, so they weren't happy with it. So Dad and Nankers took it back to Bendigo. Took it back down, to Airlock.
Yep.
And I think they cut an inch off the prop shaft.
Okay, yeah.
Moved the prop back under, and next day, so completely untested. I think Dad took it for a little run. Took it for a little run down the east.
As you do.
Yeah, I took it for a run around Eplock, because that's going to tell you what the dead man's going to look like.
Well, of course, yeah. Totally, exactly the same. Yeah.
So we jumped out there the next day, and Dad goes, "Oh, you're going to have to help us around the corners a little bit if you can. Stop, don't hang out too wide. Don't pull my ass around."
Okay, yep.
So we just go, as it was, we just go for a ski. Me and Steve, still we're told. Yep. So for that race, we're in and out of the wash, trying to cross on the inside corners.
Yep.
Jump on. I'm skiing over with Steve he was on the left. I'm jumping over into his left hand wash. He's trying to come out and staying in the wash around the right handers.
Yep.
And I'm holding out wide, trying to keep load off the boat.
Yeah. Okay.
And it just turns out, we win and break Island Cooler's record by 45 seconds.
And now, hang on. So we've got Dennis Rowbottom's giving you this boat back because he was happy with his.
Yeah.
And Dennis's record's now gone.
Yes.
So the boat he gave back.
Yes.
That can't have been a good day for Dennis.
Oh, I wouldn't imagine so. Man, but, we had no idea. We didn't know we were even in the same... Dennis Rowbottom and bloody Island Cooler, Jamie Oliver... they're just gods of mine.
Yeah.
And we've gone out and beaten their record by 45 seconds. It's like, wow. Is this real?
Yeah, what happened then?
Did this really happen?
That's amazing. So we're going to jump forward, 12 years? 13 years? 12 years? 11 years. To 2003.
2003, yeah.
The Cougar's pretty unfit.
Yeah.
I don't think he's been doing any skiing.
Well, we literally dragged him off the bench.
Yeah.
Yep.
Tell us about that, because you had a skier who pulled out.
Yes, we're looking for a skier. Let me try and remember. I can't remember who.
Steve Robbo?
No, Steve Robbo, yes, I reckon we wanted Steve Robbo for that year, and he wouldn't do it.
Yep.
And Steve Robbo came and joined us, ironically, the year after.
Okay.
When we could have gone better again, and we experimented with something and it shit itself. So, so we nearly had Steve on the plane to come down and do that, and he didn't do it.
Yep.
So we're left with no one. It's like Steve, man. Steve was, observing, hanging out,
eating pies and donuts.
Eating pies. He's never one thing about the Cougar, he's never unfit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's an athlete. He's a natural athlete, isn't he?
Yeah. No matter what stage he is at, he's always twice as fit as me.
Yeah.
So he was, but at this stage he was, really unfit. No skiing, no nothing. So we did a few runs and whatnot. Yeah, and then we laid down a time, and it was good enough. Yeah. It was just
11 years later.
11 years later, it was just amazing though. To do it back with Steve, with Tim, Uncle Tim observing.
Yep.
To lay it down like that, it was just amazing, just incredible.
It was, and not just for you guys, for all of us, on the bank, all the fans. It was the biggest topic of conversation in ski racing for the next year. Those boys, 11 years apart, have done the same thing with effectively the same boat. I mean, it was a different boat, but it was the same hull and, same sort of setup. It was really cool, and it was a great story. Yeah,
it's just something we'll never forget that one. That's for sure. But they have that break between, and we thought we were probably starting favourites for the 11 in between, and could never get anywhere near it. And then we thought we were starting favourites for the next two, and we couldn't get near it.
Yeah.
It's just such.
Do you think it's maybe sometimes, because both those wins you've talked about, you've sort of literally said, well, there was really in our minds no pressure on us because we didn't think we were going to win them. Do you think that helps?
I do think it helps. Yeah, but that doesn't help the mechanics.
No.
I think steel and push rods and they don't
gearboxes.
Yeah, they don't work to emotion.
No,
they work. They stuff our emotions.
Again, go back to the video with Michael. You'll see the emotion there, mate. A race that I know you and I both have absolute love for is the Barry Kahn Memorial at Wagga. And I don't know what year it was, I was trying to look it up today actually, but I think you missed out one year by about a second on winning the Kahn.
Yeah.
Tell us about that, and then tell us about towing Lloyd Woolman in the Kahn, with your own boat later on.
Skiing. That was back about 92 or 93. I was skiing by Formula One.
Yep.
Up again with Wayne Mitchell driving.
And that was his Everingham?
With the Everingham,
He's
yeah.
now Dirty Rat, for anyone who wants to know.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
Neil Donald would have known that.
He would have known that for sure, yeah. He probably told me.
And, I couldn't have... There's one day that I just couldn't... I love Wagga, and I just love the track. I love just the test.
Yep.
It's just so putridly rough and just comes in from all angles, and it's just, it's the best test for a skier anyway.
And tight. And it's a great test for drivers and observers too. Like,
it's a team event.
Yeah. How many observers do you know can count to 15?
Well, I couldn't once, so...
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, you're not the only bloke. There's plenty of people who've done either one too many or one not enough.
Yeah, I didn't quite count right one day as an observer. But it's such a test. So, I couldn't have skied any better. I just skied the whole race with my arm in the air, and we lost by less than a second to Dave McMillan with status.
Oh, really? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and that was just gut-wrenching. Absolutely gut-wrenching.
Really?
Oh, it still shits me. So,
well, I guess the racecraft and that sort of water is probably a slightly better thing than the Everingham as well.
Yep. Yeah, probably. But, at the end of the day, you can win, legends have won it with less.
Yeah.
Chris Stout won it behind a racecraft.
Yes.
In 2012 or something, legends can do it.
Oh, yeah, there's no question.
So, and so since then, went there and with Budget, Pat O'Reilly observing.
Yes.
I reckon 2012, 2013, same thing. I just couldn't take my hand off the rope. Just bloody had my hand in the head. Couldn't put my hand on the rope.
Yep.
Had my hand go. It was just the greatest day of my life. Come back in.
That's a big statement.
Yeah, probably the best I've felt on a ski.
Yeah.
Come back in and the hero, bloody second, Daniel Graziano. Took off early and had an absolute blinding race, and young Daniel's bloody collected his first big trophy, and I've missed out again. So
poor old Brett C going, what do I got to do to win this?
What do I have to do? So look, I absolutely love that race. But going back there with Lloyd, who's probably the best skier for that race, he's just made for it, absolutely made for it.
You had a long association with Lloyd. I mean, I guess he. Look, I haven't asked him, but I would assume that Lloyd would say the only reason he's where he's at in his ski racing career is because of you guys.
Look, Lloyd, like Chris Stout, could have skied by anyone, I reckon, and gone straight to the top.
You're probably selling yourself a bit short there, I reckon, but yeah.
I never wanted to be an observer. I was never an observer or a driver. I was always a skier.
Yep.
And I started observing for Lloydie when he was well in under 13s. He was like 11 or 12.
Yeah.
By under 13s, we'd already won 2 Vic titles, and we won the under 13s and under 16s Vic titles at Lake Charm.
Unreal. Yeah.
Mate, he's just such a gun. He's just a freak. Was that? That might have been with a borrowed boat that day too. We might have borrowed. Yeah, we did. We borrowed Noiseworks and towed him in under 16s.
Yep.
With a borrowed boat and towed him down the final straight at 98 mile an hour. I won't say 100 because it'll sound stupid for an under 13s boys. And he goes and wins under 13s and under 16s in the same year. Like, the kid's just a freak.
He was a freak. All right. So Lloyd, talking about Lloyd, and then for me, the Lloyd period of your career brings to my mind. You've done the Formula 2 thing with the Superclass hull.
Yep.
And done very well. But as you said, the rules are there to be looked at and used. And I guess, most people thought that F2 boats had to be 21 foot, when if you really read the rule book, they were actually allowed to be 18 foot at the time, weren't they?
Correct, yeah. But we did it before the rules were written.
Yeah. Yes.
And don't worry, we joined in the chorus and built ourselves a lightweight 19-footer as well.
That's where I was going with that. Yeah. So and I got to say, and I worked for Race Marine at that time. That carbon boat is still probably the most stunning, look. And it's actually something I've written down here. I want to touch base with you. All of your boats, Bretsky, all of your boats in your period, because obviously there's your dad's and then you moved into your own career. Do you have a creative flair? Like, were you good at drawing at school? Because honestly, all of your boats have not only been beautiful to look at, but they've all been different in terms of they don't look like the other boats that are going around. You don't run down the same path as everybody else.
Yeah, isn't it funny, like, when we had Blind Budget, everyone goes, Blind Budget, that's the sickest paint job and everything like that. I appreciated the paint job, but number one, it was never ours.
Yeah.
And number two, I was over that whole mural whole thing.
Yeah.
We'd already had a bit of bad luck with, and it probably comes from being a Brown Brothers fan.
Yeah,
myself as well.
You and I both. That's why I love the yellow boat.
Big Brown Brothers fan.
Yeah.
But Dad went off and did this boat, and we thought it was going to be fantastic at the time. Had the Indian chief on the front and all that sort of stuff. The 21, our first 21 that we actually owned.
Yep.
So he goes and builds this 21, puts this awesome mural on it. Looks fantastic, like off the charts.
So that wasn't the boat. That wasn't boat one.
No.
That was another one.
That was another one. So that was
Yep.
Pete Smith built another one.
Yep, right.
So, to spec, so it comes out, Dad puts a big paint job on it, and it was just the most unlucky boat we've ever had.
Really? Yeah.
Like, he got to the point where he just completely had enough of it, picked up a forklift once, and drove the forklift straight through it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, had enough.
And that was the end of that boat?
That was the end of it. Rode it off.
He is a wild man, Mike.
And he couldn't drive a forklift either.
We obviously drove it well enough to drive inside of the boat.
Don't worry, when he was angry enough, he could do it.
Wow. So it was just that frustrating for him that in the end he's like, I've had enough of this thing.
Yep. It was like the Southern 80 video with him in a forklift.
I think you need a bit of that about you to be those types of guys. Mark Craney's the same, isn't he? You don't want to get in front of Crane when he's got a temper on either. It's
no way.
Scary place to be.
No, so I don't know whether that's part of it or not. But yeah, that whole theme and that whole mural and spray paint and all that. So when we did the 21-foot, the orange one, I had a Brown Brothers sort of vision in my head. And,
and I can see that in that boat, yeah.
And it didn't quite come out. John Evans did that.
Yep.
So we worked together, and probably John had more of his touch on it than mine.
Yeah.
So then when we got to the carbon boats and all that, I wanted to go down this really clean.
Yeah. And it worked.
Yeah.
And because for those that, if you haven't seen them, you need to see them because one of them is now called Anger Management, the V6 Velocity that you had.
Yep. Kevin Delberg presented it beautifully for a little while as hardback.
Did, yep. And now a young fella named Sam Lucas has got it. He's doing a great job with it too. But the V7 Velocity that you've got full clear carbon. I mean, it's
good to work with people that understand what you're trying to say too. I'm not really good at. I can't do any of the work. I'm completely hopeless. I'm not allowed to drill a hole.
You got Cameron for that.
Exactly, that's where I was going to go. But to have someone like Cameron who just reads my mind.
Yeah.
He knows, and he wants exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
So whereas I say I want a clean look, he will come up with something twice as good.
Well, I wanted to touch base on Cameron Cox, and now's probably the best time. I mean, that's been. I love Cam. He's a good mate, and he's probably one of your best mates. He's strange. Like, he's a perfectionist to the highest order. I mean, we always laugh that Cameron won't be getting his feet wet ever, and there will be no dirt on any of the boats. But all jokes aside,
no, that's true.
Without Cam, this operation would be a very different operation, wouldn't it?
Oh, without Cam, we wouldn't even have this. It wouldn't have happened. I don't have the drive to or the ability to create these things where Cam has all of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, exactly. Without this, Cam, it wouldn't happen without Cam. I just wouldn't have. I wouldn't have the drive, and I wouldn't have had someone to do it with either.
Yeah. Well, you said that before. You know, really, the whole reason you went back to ski racing after all that tragic stuff that went on was because you had the Cougar and you had Cameron and you had a good crew of blokes around you.
Yeah, and it's just doing it with your mates.
Yeah.
And that's, for us, since day one, it's only been about dealing with your mates. We've only ever had success. We've only ever really had bad failures if someone in the crew's no good, or
yeah.
There's always, unfortunately, there's always been a bad egg associated to bad times.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So when we're doing it with our mates and we're all having a good time, that's when the biggest success comes.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting.
I'd seriously, to be brutally honest, and sorry to interrupt, but I'd nearly rather be.
You're the one answering the questions. I'm only asking. You go.
I'd rather be an also ran with a really good crew than to winning with people I don't like.
Yeah, and I totally get that. I've been on both sides of that coin, and there's a lot more fun in coming fourth with one of your mates and having a laugh with him than winning with some bloke that you might not even like.
Yeah, that's the beauty of everything we've done. Well, to touch on Cam, to touch on Piccolo as well. Like to grab Anthony Pickles and Andy McKinnon that we had in the time. Like we had just the best crew, and we go out with this 21 foot superclass.
Yeah.
Laying down 41 minutes at the Southern 80.
I know.
And we're just having a ball.
Yeah. That was. I was going to touch on Piccolo. Piccolo, I haven't seen him for a while, but he's the bricklayer from out there at Black Rock. But he was probably a similar skier to yourself, I guess. Like lots of natural ability. Probably not that keen on training.
No, Piccolo. No, he'd probably push harder on the training than what I probably could have, but I was in a good space where I was coming down from a higher base.
Yeah, you probably make a good point. But you guys really did dominate F2 there with a boat that probably now wouldn't.
No.
But, probably it shouldn't have even then.
Well, we laid down some really good times with those, with the 21 footer especially.
Yeah.
Cam just got a knack to bloody get these things down. That boat wouldn't even see 80 mile an hour and doing 41 minutes. It was.
Yeah.
People would come up and ask him what prop he's running, and he'd show them, and they'd think he's joking.
I wouldn't believe him.
No, they think he's joking. I go, Cam, you got to stop telling them people this. They think you're full. He goes, they think I'm lying anyway. So why don't I just tell them the truth? Just tell them the truth.
It's true though.
Yeah, doing it with a 24 trophy. Yeah. And they go, no, you're not.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, mate. You just go off and do whatever you got to do.
How fast are you going? 78 mile an hour? No, you're not.
No, you're not.
I went down there at 85, and
I'm doing 85, and you beat us by half a lap. And it's like, oh, sorry, mate, can't help you anymore.
It's a true story. And we see it all the time. I've seen it with my boat, Gretzky. The velocity. One guy, I think I passed him a point score one day doing 79 mile an hour, and he told me I had to be doing nearly 90 because he was doing 85.
Exactly. There's a good batch of GPSs out there, and we never had one.
It was, downhill GPSs, I think.
Back to mates, like that, exactly. Piccolo, Cam, Steve. None of this happens without. None of this happens with bad crews or anything like that.
Yeah, and Cameron. For those people that don't know, he does the majority of the work on the boats as well. He puts them together.
So Dennis and Simon, obviously, fantastic down at Race Marine. One thing I did learn through all the things that Dad did, bouncing through mechanics, all that sort of stuff. When you've got a good mechanic, you've got to be loyal to them.
Yeah.
And to have that relationship with Simon and Dennis down there, and for them to also allow Cam, who's not part of their team, or not part of their workshop, to go down there and just have free reign to work with them, and to help out. We couldn't have done the things that we did without that, and that inspired me from the first build to build the second one, to build the third one, to do the next project.
Yeah.
That just kept me motivated.
Do you enjoy the project?
I do. I love a project.
Yeah. So the organisation and what am I going to do next? I know you're a big one for having the catalogue out. Look what you can get from America or whatever. You love that stuff.
Yeah, I just love the process of it and just seeing what you can actually put into the next one.
Yeah.
And then it comes to how clean you can do it and how nice you can do it. But all these projects, there's been so much fun with Race Marine and.
Yeah, it has been, and I get what you're saying there. I've been similar because you've probably seen it too, where a guy will for want of a better term, crap the shits with a mechanic because something went wrong, and then they go to another mechanic, and then something goes wrong, and they jump around everywhere. All of a sudden, they haven't got a mechanic to go to because no one's perfect, I guess.
They're never perfect, and don't get me wrong. There's ups and downs.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure Dennis or Simon probably sick of my shit too sometimes. But I'm not saying that to be, you know.
No, I totally get it. And hey, they're the same with me. Don't worry. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's part of I think that's part of the creative journey. You've got something when you got something in your head and you can't get it out. Yeah, it comes out in frustration.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're lucky. We've all pointed in the same direction, and everyone's been on the same page.
So you do the Formula 2 thing, you're having a ball, it's your mates, you're racing, you're winning stuff, you build that V6, and that's the same deal again, you win more stuff, but then you decide the big game's on again. Was that about Lloyd, or what was that about?
That was Lloyd driven, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the opportunity to do the Worlds, we were bouncing between boats. Lloydie was just such a good skier.
Yeah.
Yeah, and deserved every opportunity he could get.
And good kid.
And great, good kid, good family. You know, all the same things we're talking about. You know, so I thought he deserved the opportunity. We, typical with building boats and all that sort of stuff, we were frustratedly, the boat was running late.
Of course.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there was some water pipes for exhaust, I believe, at Botany Bay, first selection race.
Yeah.
A little bit of drain.
Yeah, that was for its first race.
Yes.
But before that, we'd have to borrow 2 boats.
That's right. Yeah, yep.
So, yeah, we'd borrowed boats before that.
Yep.
To get there.
We must have to thank someone for the borrowed boats.
Hoggy stepped up to the plate there and loaned us Noiseworks, which back before that, let me digress. When I had the chance to go I actually made that team when Dad passed away, so 2005.
Yeah, right. Yep.
So I made the Worlds team.
Yep.
And we didn't know how we were going to do it with the boats and what we were going to do. Hoggy stepped up to the plate then and was going to tow me with Dad observing, or no, vice versa. He was going to let Dad drive.
Yep.
With Noiseworks over at Hunstanton.
And he would observe.
Yeah. Like Hoggy's he was just a saint of a man.
So for people listening, most ski racers will know Hoggy, but it's Rod Hogman, of course, of Noiseworks fame.
Yeah.
Who was probably too generous for his own good, wasn't he?
He really was. He was just so good to us.
Yeah.
You know, he was already heading over there with Cara, and they already had their team. They had a team together. So yeah, Hoggy put out for us. You know, he was prepared to do all that for us, and which I'll never forget. But he, unfortunately, that was the Worlds that, you know, Dad passed away, I reckon, 2 months before that.
So that just went on ice.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't. Yeah.
Oh, that's understandable.
Yeah, I really do regret not being able to make it there.
Yeah.
You know, I was really looking forward to that.
Yeah.
I thought I was prepared, and I'd actually done all the hard work this time, and I actually thought I deserved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I regret missing out on those Worlds.
It just shows you how something like that impacts your life in ways you wouldn't even think about. You know. Shout out to Hoggy too. He's a bit crook at the moment. He will listen to this, so
very good man, Hoggy.
Real good man. G'day, Hoggy. We hope you're going all right, mate. So you build the V7.
So digress. Yeah. So Hoggy loans us his Chaos for the Geelong round of the.
Yeah. Yep.
While we're waiting for our V7 to be built from Race Marine. Hurry up, Simon. And we build that, and we get that V7 on the water and go out Botany Bay, and picked up a bunch of points there in the worst water imaginable. It was the most putrid day ever.
Yeah, they're a pretty good boat, those 21 Chaos in the rough, was it not, or was it?
Yeah, we did really well with that. But Cam had no time and sort of listened to Jeff for about 3 minutes and got out there and
and here you go, boys, drive this against the best in the world.
Yeah. So we didn't have a
tough kid.
Didn't have a great deal of time in it, but we did really well. But
you made that jump too. So because you said to me a little bit earlier, I wasn't an observer, I wasn't a driver, I was a skier. But in your later years, you became one of the top observers in our sport.
Don't know. Maybe I just had good skiers.
Oh, you don't. Yeah, no. I'm not saying, yes, you had good skiers, but you had good skiers because good skiers wanted to ski behind you, and as an observer, you'd understand it. But I guess my question is, do enjoy the observing side of it, or was it a means to an end for you? Did you just want to look after your skiers?
No, I only did it to look after the skiers.
Yep.
Yeah, and when I did get out there, I was too soft. To be honest, I was way too soft.
Preferable.
Yeah, I overanalyzed observing too much.
Yeah, okay.
And I probably still do.
Yep.
I ski for the skier.
Yeah.
So I wave down from and hold them back when they probably could be pushed a little bit harder.
You
but
prefer that the other way around, don't you?
Oh yeah, I suppose. But when it comes to these days, like one of the best times I had recently was when Lloydie, Cam, and Griffo took the boat out at Wagga last year, I think, or the year before. Mate, and they went out there. I was happy just being a team owner.
Yeah.
Just sitting
you're
back.
happy with that?
Absolute ball. I don't need to be there competing. I don't need to be. I don't feel I need to be out there.
Yeah.
I had just as much fun standing out there and watching those guys go out there and do it. And on top of that, like Griffo did twice as good a job as what I could have done at that time.
Yeah, Brian's been around your crew for a long time.
Griffo's been in the crew for a long time now.
Yeah, he's a ripper.
Yeah, he's a bloody oath he is.
Big Griffo.
Yeah, great.
And he's lived and breathed ski racing. I mean, I remember as a kid when he was a skier, I think he broke his ankle, I think, and that was kind of the end of
the ski racing. Yeah, and he was
yeah.
out there doing all the not selection races, but the series and everything with Gav Woolman at the time.
Yeah,
that was his comeback for skiing.
Yeah,
and he skied behind me at Wagga.
I reckon Griffo's definitely observed in my boat a few times for me, and just a good operator, isn't he?
Oh, Griffo, he's in the Sapphire camp at the moment, but he's still got a Thundernuts t-shirt there.
He would have. You look up passion in the dictionary. I think there's a picture of Griffo. He loves it. So we move through. You've got the V7. You're doing stuff like just being a team owner now and enjoying it, because I guess you feel like you don't have anything to prove. I mean, you've been there and done it. Anyone that doesn't know who Brett Dominquez is hasn't ski raced. You now have that decision to make because you've got a tribe of girls at home.
Yep.
Is the dog a boy?
Yeah, he is.
Thank God for that.
Yeah, Bunny.
Yeah.
Thank God for Bunny.
But you do have a tribe of girls at home, and now the girls are starting to want to ski race. Is that something you pushed, or is that something that they just want to do? They saw Dad do it. They're around it.
How's that
work?
It's just it's not really a passion for them. For Georgia, I think it is, and Shana's so good.
Yep.
For what they do and how for the time on water they have, I can't believe how good they are. They are really good.
Yeah.
So this year we've just got Haley. We've had Haley up skiing, and she's done her first races, and she's just showing so much talent as well.
Yeah.
For mine, I don't. I've never pushed them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's completely up to them.
Do you feel like you were pushed as a kid, or
No.
no?
No.
You just did it because you wanted to.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be doing it now if you didn't.
Yeah, I was pushed in the right direction.
Yeah.
And we were given the toys, and we're given everything to do it.
Yeah.
So it got us in the right direction. I never felt the pressure to be to do it every week in, week out.
Yeah. Or pressure to win as such.
No.
Other than what you put on yourself.
No, it was always there's regrets where I should have trained harder, and I should have pushed harder at times when I didn't.
Yeah.
I let myself down a few times, especially through the World's campaigns and the World's races. I lost a little bit of enthusiasm through that.
So what would you say to young blokes listening now about that?
Oh, it's exactly, I can't even say I wasn't.
Young blokes and girls.
Yeah, I can't even say I wasn't doing it with the right team. It's just realising the opportunities you've got at the time.
Yeah.
And not squandering them. Not getting on the piss and not just doing the wrong, not doing the wrong things.
Yeah.
So I've probably got regrets in that sense.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the kids now, no, there's no pressure. There's no pressure on them.
Yeah.
They can do whatever they like with it. But Shana went off and I towed Georgia last year, and Shana went off with Daniel and Cam and Casey Branson.
Yes.
And they won. Well, they won every race.
They did
last year.
I was doing the trophy presentation, I know, so I was handing them trophies nearly every week, I think, as kids.
And I'm on race safe. I'm behind them. I'm on race safe from the minute they take off. In George's first race, I probably stuffed up. I was driving. I was probably stuffed up a few corners at Southern 80 because I was trying to get on race safe, bloody seeing where the Shana's finished. But then I got the chance to observe for Shana this year, and man, I just couldn't believe how good she's going.
Yeah.
So I really want them to. I want for them to want to do it.
Yep.
But I want them to go on and do whatever they can.
Yep.
But life's a busier time these days.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
For whatever reason, if you're not completely 100% dedicated to the sport, and I think that's where the sport's got to really learn a little bit too.
Yeah.
We've got too many races.
Yes.
I think it sounds an oxymoron, but there's too many that don't mean enough.
Yeah.
You can race every weekend up in Sydney. You can race every weekend down in Melbourne.
Yeah.
But they don't mean anything at the end of the day. They haven't got any adventure. They're all just the same shit.
Yeah. I get where you came. A lot of people agree with you on that. Is that it's got to a point like for a guy like me that just works for a salary and has a ski race boat, and I love it. But I can't afford to race every weekend, so then I have to make that decision. And we spoke to Cam McConville actually in an earlier podcast, and people will have probably already listened to that. But he is of the same opinion. So
yeah, so it's easy to sit in an ivory tower and bloody point down and say this is how it should be. But my thinking is that there just needs to be more races that actually mean something. We need more Wagga in our life.
Yeah, well, yeah. Who doesn't need more Wagga in their life?
But something that's things that actually mean something.
Yeah, and I think you're right. Maybe, and you and I have spoken about having an invitational race or something that has a name attached to it, or so a point at the end of it.
Off the top of the head, like a format. Just to renew the formats. What about a teams event where you got an under 13, under 6, 2 junior kids and 2 seniors, and you race all those people against each other for points.
Yeah.
So Thundernuts has Lloyd Woolman and bloody Emma Barnes and whoever they got back in the day.
Yeah.
And a couple of older skiers, and we all compete against each other. Yeah. Sort of Tasman challenge for the rest of everyone. For
the rest of the world.
I just think I think we need to head into something that just needs a little bit more. Point scores are great, and that's what point scores get you to the Worlds.
Yep.
And that's a big change that we made a couple of years ago, when we were on the board, moving to 15 minutes, and now we've got world champion Victorian skiers. Yeah,
that's right, and attempting to run Grand Prix style events as well.
Yeah.
Doing that hour stuff, which, it's a balancing act, isn't it? Because you always get the people that say, you don't want to just cater to the big end of town, and then I believe you want the big end, you have to have the big end of town, because that's the elite of your sport.
I think that's where we got lost with that old Super Series. For whatever, I won't get into the politics of it, and I don't know the politics of it, but the concept was probably one of the most, it was probably the biggest stepping stone that we could have taken in ski racing.
Yeah.
To have the best of the best, doing it in front of massive crowds. Peter Ross had done it in the past with Newcastle. Noel had done it started to do it with Newcastle, Geelong, all these places. And, we had thousands of people that maybe had never seen ski racing.
Yeah.
And you got Wayne Moore and bloody Peter Proctor going toe-to-toe in a 15-minute race.
Yeah.
That was probably the most exciting. I reckon that was the most excited I've been about ski racing in a long time. And for the politics and for the people who said, what about us? I can't run my boat there, and we're wasting all this money on this and that. I won't get into the politics of it because I don't know them. Yeah. But we need a stepping stone like that if the sport's ever going to go.
Well, that's
where it was.
Effectively a national series, isn't it?
Was that national series? Yeah.
Yeah, like V8 Supercar go from the tip of Queensland down to Tasmania, don't they, over to Western Australia and have a race.
But we can do that these days. Boats don't break down like they used to.
Yeah, true.
We used to tow a boat back up and down the Hume Highway, pick it up in Nankervis, take it to Sydney, drive it back in Nankervis, they get pulled apart and get to the next race.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen anymore. You've got these boats that just go forever.
They do, these Merc packages.
And there's skiers that go forever.
Yeah, it is. It's unreal. So what do you think of, and we're starting to wind up now, mate, but and one of the final things I wanted to touch on was your kids, which we've done, but also the sport in general. Speed caps. Tell me what your thoughts are.
I like speed caps for the juniors.
Yeah,
I really do. It's part of the reason why I'm happy with my kids still being in it.
Yep.
You know, unfortunately, it caps that Lloyd woman coming through the system a little bit, but you know they'll eventually get there. You know, Jack Houston was still doing F2 when he was in under 19 boys. You know, he wasn't doing 110 mile an hour.
Yeah,
he didn't need it, and he could go on to do anything. You know that. I think the speed caps, while they're frustrating for everyone who thinks they can be a 100 mile an hour ski racer.
Yeah.
While they might be frustrating at the time, I think they're a good thing at the end of the day.
Keep it safer.
Well, they teach people how to drive too.
Yeah, and observe, I guess.
Yep.
The whole deal.
You know, teaching drivers that how many records have been broken that were never going to be broken again.
It's amazing. Oh,
so.
Yeah.
We went through a whole stage, and Mark Craney was just a pioneer and a guru of what he did. You know, he built boats that finished. He had teams that he laid down times that he beat year on year, and what he did was just incredible. But he's doing it at 130 mile an hour.
Yeah,
that was his style of racing. Everyone else has said, well, Mark Craney does it that way. I've got to do it that way because everyone are just sheep.
Yeah,
people are sheep.
Well, they're looking at what the best are doing and they're trying to emulate that, aren't they? So,
but you'll never beat the best by doing the same thing, will you?
Yeah, it's like your paint jobs.
But the next winner doesn't follow in the last winner's footsteps.
Correct.
They step out of the wash and go around.
Yeah. Yep.
So you've got to step out of the wash sometimes, and that's where all of a sudden Mark's done everything that he's done his way.
Yeah.
He's beaten everyone else doing that continue to do the things his way as well.
Yep.
No one wanted to step out and do anything different. All of a sudden we get speed cap, we get skiers inside the wash, and we're pushing faster times.
Yeah.
Everyone's had to think outside the square. So they should have done, people, in hindsight, people should have done things differently rather than following Mark.
Well, yeah, I think it says a lot about, and this is a Cameron Cox thing, is that, corner speed and acceleration out of corners is a lot more important than what number you see down a straight.
Yeah, exactly. Looking at the GPS at the end of the straight isn't going to win you the race.
No.
And too many people fell for that trap.
Yeah.
It didn't worry Craney because he's out in front doing it. But everyone who went behind thinking they've got to do 130 at the end of that straight was sitting there looking at that GPS, and they could never beat Mark, could they?
Unfortunately, they weren't accelerating. They didn't have the handling
they
through
didn't
the corners.
They'd get to the corner and fuck the corner, and it's all over.
That's life.
But that's racing, and everyone's got. I think the more people learn to do it their own way.
Well, mate, it's been a good chat, but we're not quite finished because I'm just going to throw it over to you. I mean, in every ski racing career, there's people, we probably touched on the people that I'm going to ask about, but is there anyone that sort of springs to mind that's really helped Brett Dominquez along or has mentored you or you've thought, wow, I should be like that person?
Oh, there's hundreds. And we could do it again and I'd touch on all of them. I'd only touch on a 10th.
Yeah.
But I probably wouldn't be able to do it if it wasn't for my mum or my wife.
Yeah.
Between Di and Narelle, if it wasn't for them, Narelle's understanding and Mum's understanding of me getting back into racing.
Yeah.
Mum would give me one in the ribs every now and again and say, oh, what about this, what about that? But it was never a sit down, have a good think about it, have a good look at yourself, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
It was always left to my judgment and what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So, it's got to be hell on them. Could you imagine that? I can't even imagine the pressure, the stress that I've put them through by going back to racing and doing that. So, I wouldn't. There's no way I'd be able to do it without them.
Yeah.
And now, it's my mates and my kids.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for all those guys, then I wouldn't still be doing it and still loving it.
Yeah. So we're in the COVID-19 thing at the moment, and you own a pub, so it's a bit tough in the pub world at the moment. So don't envy you in that area, mate, but I think you'll be all right. The bottle shop's still going. We're doing beautiful takeaway meals down at the Harp. So
yes, got Palmer's going down there.
I'll be down there Saturday night. I'll go and get one.
Well, hopefully by the time this comes out, we'll be back to normal, and everyone can just come down for a palmer and a pot and be like normal.
100%. And the other thing is, you and I are social distancing. We should tell the world so that they all know that we're keeping away from each other. We didn't even hug when I got here like we normally would. But hopefully ski racing survives this pandemic. That's going to be the big thing.
Yeah, well, the next step is how ski racing gets through this. I think we're starting to get a good crew on the board. So as long as the boards can get it under control and get us on the water, and then, like I said, I've touched on where I feel about ski racing at the moment, but it doesn't really make any difference if we can't go racing at all. So we can't come up with anything new. We can't go to any new places if we can't go racing at all. So
100%. Bretsky, thank you so much. You've been very generous with your time. People are going to love listening to what you've had to say. You've been an amazing supporter of the sport when probably you really didn't have to be at times. And you've been a good mate to me as well. You've helped me out a lot over the years too. So I appreciate the chat, mate, and I hope to see you on the water real soon.
Thanks, Bisho. Same here.
Go on you, mate.
Wow, did you enjoy that? Well, I certainly did. And I can tell you what, it must have been a bit of a hard interview, but what better hands to be in than Dave Bisho Bishop himself. And I'd like to thank Brett for opening up to all of us here at On The Rope Podcast. Anyway, it is time now for our podcast giveaway. It's over to Jack Coldrake.
Thanks, Lumpy. The question for you to win an On The Rope listeners limited edition t-shirt sponsored by Savage Force Merchandise is: what is Brett's best friend Stephen Morley's nickname? If you know the answer, head to the On The Rope Facebook page and message your answer through. Good luck.
Thanks so much, Jack. And just remember to follow those prompts and like and share our Facebook page. But until next time, you take care, look after yourselves. My name's Mick Lumpton, and I'll see you on the road.
Audio production has been proudly produced by Mal's Media in association with our On The Rope podcast sponsors: Coley's Tow Bars and Bull Bars, Mark Savage Merchandise, ARS Automation and Robotic Services, TJH Coaching and Consulting, Rapid Concepts, Sven Productions, Bad Lad Australia, and Bisho Media.